my fellow gore horror besties. I'm coming to you guys today with a story that was requested by a friend, and let me tell you, I am absolutely shocked with this story. I have never heard about this trial before or situation. I did a lot of research, watched a lot of YouTube videos, and I am just shocked. It is wild. So it's about this girl named Christa Pike. She is what they're calling the world's most notorious killer. They compared her to like Hannibal Lecter, John Wayne Gacy, things like that when in some of the videos that I was watching. So Christa Pike was just a little bit about her. She was born on March 10th, 1976. Her parents were Carissa Hansen and Emil Glenn Pike. They were only married for 2 years, and then they ended up divorcing. He got married 2 years later, and when he got married, her mom tried to commit suicide. It failed, and the story goes on. She was extremely neglected, is what her grandparents were saying, and her grandparents say that essentially they raised her because she was neglected. She just lived an unstable life most of her life. And when her grandma died when she was 12, she attempted suicide because she said that her grandma was the only one that ever loved her. She was depressed, and it just kind of sent her into a spiral of just wild teenage years. So she was abused by her mom's boyfriends. Her stepsister claimed that Christa was molesting her, so her dad kicked her out. And it just kind of went on from there. In 10th grade, she spent some time in juvie, and then she ended up moving to Tennessee in 1994 for this Job Corps thing that was going on. So she met she was 18 at the time in 1995. She was dating this guy who was 17 years old. His name was Terrell Ship. I know that I said that wrong. My apologies. So she ended up they were into like satanic worshiping, whatever. So there was this girl that was in this Job Corps with her that was named Colleen Slimmer. She was 19 years old, and she used to have a thing with Ship, I guess, and so Christa was extremely jealous of her. So she just didn't like her at all. So they had some issues, that kind of thing. Well, on January 12th, 1995, Christa Pike, Terrell Ship, and then somebody else named, her last name was Peterson. They lured Colleen into the woods, and they tortured her, they beat her. They said it was so vicious that she was stabbed at least 300 times. Her throat was slit at least 9 times, and Ship actually carved a pentagram into Colleen's chest. And then Pike took a concrete asphalt piece and just smashed her skull in, initially murdering Colleen. And then Pike took a piece of her skull, put it in her leather jacket, and then kept it as like a souvenir. And so the motive was obviously jealousy. She thought that she was trying to steal her man, and she had to try and get rid of the situation. I mean, this was a 17-year-old boy that she was in love with, and she just thought this 19-year-old girl wanted her man. So she took it into her own hands, and she murdered her. And it was Shadola Peterson was the other girl. So she ended up being caught 36 hours later because she was showing pieces of Colleen's skull to other people. She was bragging about the murder. She was showing off the skull. Like, she was ultimately proud of it. Like, she wanted everybody to know what she had done. So initially, 36 hours later, all 3 of them were arrested. So when the time came to the trials, after they were caught, Ship was only 17 years old, so he was ineligible for the death penalty. So he ended up just getting life with the possibility of parole, which he could actually parole in 2026. So it's going to be interesting to see if he actually gets parole. Peterson, she cooperated with the cops, so she got 6 years of probation. She assisted in murdering Colleen and attacking her and all she got was 6 years of probation. Wild. Wild. So after all the trials and everything like that, Pike was the youngest woman to ever be put on death row in Tennessee. She was sentenced to electrocution, which was supposed to be on August 19th, 2022, but just because there's been so many appeals, her team's trying to fight it, that kind of thing. So her team is saying that she shouldn't be executed because she was only 18, she was a juvenile, but they're saying she was 18. At 18, you're not a juvenile anymore. So they denied a motion in 2014, 2016, 2018, 2022, and so they are just denying every appeal, but because they keep appealing it, it's going to keep pushing back her execution, which is why she's been on death row since 1995. Long time. So, but Pike actually ended up getting more charges put on her for attempted murder because in 2001, she attacked another fellow inmate and attempted to strangle her. So, with a shoestring with somebody else named Natasha Cornett. But obviously, she survived and she was just charged with attempted murder. She also was sleeping with correctional officers. Disgusting. Somebody else, another correctional officer, was being paid by somebody else to help her escape. Somebody named Donald Cohut. Both of them were ended up caught and charged. So they were both charged. Or no, the correctional officer that was helping her try and escape, he ended up just losing his job because he cooperated. So apparently you can try and help somebody escape. As long as you cooperate, you won't get any time. But the Donald guy ended up getting 7 years for bribery, escape plans, that kind of thing. I don't think that's really fair at all, but whatever, that's the Tennessee court. So in 2020, her execution was postponed. In 2022, her execution was postponed. In 2023, her execution was postponed again. And the last thing that happened was in October of 2023, the court said that the juvenile, that changes about how like juveniles should automatically only be sentenced to life, not execution, it's unconstitutional. They said that didn't apply to her. She was adult. So basically, if she's executed, she will be the first woman executed in Tennessee in roughly 200 years. She is the only woman on death row right now. But because of all of the things that she's done with the trying to escape, sleeping with officers, strangling people, they say that she's a very high risk. And she spent about 30 years in solitary confinement. But now they are essentially letting her out, trying to give her more freedom and things like that. So as of right now, she is 48 years old. She's still sitting on death row, trying to appeal to get off of death row. I think it's wild. I would love to know what you guys think. If she should be taken off death row or anything like that. Give me your feedback on what you think about this trial. I'm going to share some pictures of Pike, Shipp, and Peterson next. But first, I'm going to share a picture of the beautiful Colleen. It's just a horrible, sad story. I appreciate you guys listening for another gore horror. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. So I just wanted to add real quick with this picture that during the trial, she was crying when they showed the skull of Colleen because they used her skull in the trial to show it off. She was crying, and then she was crying when she was charged. But it's wild to me that before that, she was gloating, telling everybody about it. It was just real weird. And that's it. Bye.